Hi, Alan Henderson, Director at Erskine Owen. Well, I'm here in Amberley at the Brackenfields Shopping Centre and just down for a site visit and wanted to give you an update. So we haven't got many units left, but just wanted to give you some of the FAQs that we've had along the way from people asking us about it. So one of the common things we get asked is, well, what about the vacant premises? And the vacant premises have got an underwrite from the vendor. So what that means is that we've got 3 years worth of rent in a solicitor's trust account that just gets paid out to us monthly, and so we have that. So we've got plenty of time to go and get more tenants. And what we're doing with that, our strategy is to do a rebrand and a refresh on the centre itself. So Jared Halligan, our GM of Asset Management, is working on that as we speak, and to come up with a story that becomes even more attractive to tenants. And so as we get that going, we're aiming to lift the quality of the tenants that are in here, so that we can encourage people, well, so that people don't have to go to other places for things like hairdressing. One of the interesting things that has come up in conversation that I think people said you should tell people about, that is just a little example of how some of the things that we do in the background. So before we settle this property, so in between going an unconditional and settlement, we kind of naturally work through the finer detail. Said to ourselves, well, what if one of the existing tenants went and occupied one of the vacant premises? What we don't want is the vendor saying, well, my job is done, that premises has been tenanted, and so I'll take my money, thanks. And so we renegotiated with the vendor before settlement and said, for this to work, we would need to get agreement that any existing tenant relocating doesn't count as a vacant premises being tenanted. One of the other things that we get asked is how we're going on the land. So the spare land, which is off to my left, which you can't see, but there's about 1,000 square metres, and so we're progressing a business case on that to look at putting a medical centre in there. And but of course that's just a business case, and there's a lot of work to be done to make sure there's enough demand and all the costs and etc., which you can imagine it takes a bit of work, but it's not necessarily going to be done by this syndicate, but we're looking to realise perhaps realise a gain from the sale of that land. How is Countdown going? So how is Countdown performing? Well, their sales have been growing pretty steadily since they went in there, and they're at really good levels, and they're starting to approach their the level of revenue that would trigger a rent review, and so that's really positive. What's happening with the town? So we've just been here meeting an investor who was from the South Island, from Timaru, and he has been a long time since he's been in Amberley and was quite amazed at the development that's gone on. We've just been out to lunch at one of the local pubs, and so there's a number of brewery pubs here that have taken off, pizza brewery pubs, so it's actually quite a developing town. One of the common questions in general that we get is around all syndicates is, yeah, but how hard is it to how possible is it to liquidate our investment if we need to? And I say, look, at the end of the day, it's quite straightforward. You've just got to meet the market with where the market is at. So the difference between a property syndicate and the share market, you can wake up, you can log on anytime online and see exactly what your shares are worth. And so it's telling you what price you need to sell at. Property syndications or property schemes, whatever you want to call them, are slightly different, and that you don't know by logging on what your shares are going to sell for. You have to put them on the market and test the market. And so our message is, as long as you're willing to meet the market, then your shares are liquid. It's like anything. Property values can go up and down. We're at the point in the cycle, I think, where we're probably near the bottom of the property cycle, and things are going to start to lift. So I think that's a good thing. One of the last things that people often ask us about this development is, oh, but what about interest rates? You know, understandably, people are concerned about how debt and interest rates will affect these syndicates. Our view is that we are very likely at the peak of the interest rate cycle, and while there is still a road to travel with inflation coming back, and we think that during 2024 we'll start to see the OCR and therefore interest rates drop. Now, of course, as interest rates drop, that means what we start to do is potentially free up some cash, which ultimately goes back to the investor. We have locked in a 2-year fixed rate, so we're hedged against any interest rates that might occur in the next 24 months, so that's positive. So that's all from me. It's a sunny day here in Amberley. Who wouldn't want to live here? Standing behind the camera is Daniel Young, who not many of you met yet, which you'll get to see his face in the near future. He is a keen golfer, and I'm just about to take him down to show him the local golf course, which he's not going to get an opportunity to play this time, but there's so much on offer here in Amberley. And of course, as I said at the beginning, there's a few units left, so I really encourage you to get in touch and take advantage of this great opportunity at 8%.